Dad, starting next month, all your money will be deposited into my account. My son said this as if I were his employee. That night, he and his wife came over to my house for a free dinner, but when they walked into my living room, they both screamed in pure desperation. I will never forget the sound of that scream. It was a scream of genuine terror. You know, the kind that freezes your soul. It came from my living room, from the heart of my home, from the place where I had built every corner, with the sweat of my hard work. And as I listened to my son, Mike, and that woman scream as if they had seen the devil himself, I could only think of one thing. Finally, they understand who I really am. But wait, let me tell you the right way how we got here. Because this story did not start that Thursday night. No, it started 3 weeks earlier, when my only son walked into my kitchen and pronounced those words that broke my heart in two. Dad, sit down. We need to talk seriously. I was making coffee. I remember the strong smell filling the kitchen, the steam rising from the old coffee maker that my late wife, Sarah, had given me 22 years ago. Mike walked in without even saying good morning, with that posture of an important man he had acquired after becoming a commercial director. Navy blue tie, polished shoes, cologne way too expensive for someone who still rented his apartment. What is wrong, son? Do you want some coffee? I do not want coffee, Dad. I want to talk about serious things. My name is Robert Henderson. I am 68 years old, retired from the corporate office after having worked 35 years as an accountant at a textile company in the city. I receive $1,500 a month from my pension, but what really sustains my life are the 2 commercial storefronts I bought, with the money left over when I sold Sarah's car after she passed away. Eeyow! 2 small, simple storefronts downtown which I rent out to an accounting firm and a tailoring boutique. Together they give me $3,000 a month. I have been a widower for 12 years. My Sarah died of a heart attack while watching the 8 o'clock news on the local channel. It was fast, the doctor said, as if that would alleviate the pain. I raised my Mike alone since then. He was 26 when we lost his mother, but he still needed me for so many things. Sit down, Dad. This is not going to be quick. I sat down, and that was when my son began to destroy everything I thought we still had left. Look, Jess and I have been talking a lot these days, and we are worried about you, Dad. Jess. Just hearing that name turned my stomach, but I did not say anything. I just waited for him to continue. You're getting older, Dad. You are 68 years old, and we know you do not have much experience with these things. Banks, investments, money management. Mike, I have managed my money for 12 years by myself, and I have never... Let me finish, he interrupted me. He interrupted me as if I were a child interrupting an adult who is speaking. We have decided that the best thing for you, for your own good, is to transfer the management of everything to my account. Your rental income, your pension, everything. I will take care of it for you, and I will give you a monthly allowance. That way you do not have to worry about anything. The silence that fell in that kitchen was heavy as lead. An allowance, Dad, like $500 a month. That is more than enough for you. You do not go out, you do not travel, you do not spend on anything extra. And look, before you get mad, it is for your own good. You only have a high school diploma. You never really understood banks or taxes. What if someone scams you? What if you develop Alzheimer's and start giving money to strangers? I looked at my son, the boy I had held in my arms all night when he had chicken pox, the man who had cried in my arms when his mother died, and I did not recognize anything about him in that moment. Mike, I do not have Alzheimer's, and I know how to take care of what is mine. Dad, do not complicate things. Jess is pregnant. My heart skipped a beat. You are going to have a baby? That is why we need the money. A baby is expensive. Dad, we have to remodel the apartment, buy a crib, a stroller, clothes. You want your grandson to live well, right? And there it was, the emotional blackmail wrapped in gift paper. Son, if you need help, I can help. It is not help, Dad. It is administration. Starting next month, all your money will be deposited into my account. I already spoke with my lawyer. Everything is legal. You just have to sign some papers. And what if I do not want to? The way he looked at me in that moment, my God, but it was as if I had become an enemy. Then we will have to take other measures, Dad. Legal measures. No one wants to see you exploited or see you lose everything over something stupid. Do you understand me? A threat. My own son was threatening me. Bring your papers, I told him. Come to dinner here. Bring Jess. We will talk about it calmly. He smiled. That smile of someone who thinks they have already won. I knew you would understand, Dad. We will be here around 8. And he left. He left the coffee getting cold on the table, and my heart broken on the floor. But what my son did not know, what that manipulative Jess had absolutely no idea about, is that I had not built everything I had by being stupid. And from that moment on, every word, every movement, every decision I would make would be calculated. Because on Thursday night, when they walked into my living room expecting to see me sign my whole life away for them, the surprise waiting for them would make that scream of desperation echo in their memory for the rest of their lives. The question hammering in my head while I cleaned the coffee mug, the one my son had not wanted to drink, was simple. When did I lose my boy? When was it that this son I loved so much turned into this stranger in a blue tie who talked to me as if I were a crazy old man? But I was going to find out, and in that discovery, they would learn a lesson they would never forget. After Mike left that day, I sat in the kitchen for almost an hour, just staring at that empty mug, feeling the weight of my 68 years fall on my shoulders like never before. Do you know when you realize that everything you believed was a lie? That all the efforts, all the sacrifices, all the love you gave simply meant nothing? I got up, washed the mug. I dried it with the floral towel my neighbor, Mrs. Higgins, had given me last Christmas. And then I went to my bedroom, opened the drawer of the old mahogany dresser, the one Sarah had bought at the flea market back in 1998, and I took out the small metal box where I kept the old photos. I needed to remember who I was. I needed to remember what I had built. The first photo I picked up was from the day Sarah died. No, obviously there was no photo of that day, but there was one from 2 months earlier, on our wedding anniversary. 31 years together by that time. Her with that wide smile, her gray hair neatly combed, hugging me while I blew out the candles on the cake. We did not have money to throw a party, so it was just the two of us, and Mike in our simple living room, with the old fan making noise. Sarah was a nurse at the county hospital. She worked double shifts, came home exhausted, but always found energy for us. Stories, laughter, that smell of lavender and disinfectant that lingered on her uniform. She died watching the news. She simply tilted her head to the side, and it was over. The doctor said it was fast, that she did not suffer. But I suffered. My God, how I suffered. I went 3 months without being able to sleep properly. I would wake up in the middle of the night, expecting to hear her breathing next to me. That sound of heavy breathing from someone who had worked all day. And there was only silence. The apartment where we lived was rented. The only thing of value left was the old white sedan Sarah had bought 2 years earlier. A white sedan already worn out, but it still ran. Mike wanted to keep it. He said he was going to sell it and use the money to invest in something. But I told him, "No, son, this car is worth $5,000. It is everything your mother left behind, and I am going to use it to secure our future." He got mad back then, called me controlling, said I did not trust him. He was 26, thought he knew everything about life, but I did not give in. I sold the car, took that money, and went to see a real estate agent who frequented our local church. "Mr. Carter, I have $5,000. I want to buy something that generates income." He showed me the 2 commercial storefronts. They were tiny, needed remodeling, located in a half-ruined building in the old downtown area, but the price was good, $40,000 for both. I used the remaining 1,000 to do the basic repairs. New flooring, paint, a door with a decent lock. 6 months later, I rented them both out for $1,500 each. $3,000 a month, plus my pension of $1,500. That was $4,500 coming in every month. I had done it all by myself. I bought this apartment where I have lived for 9 years. Small, 2 bedrooms. But it is mine, completely paid off. No one can take it away from me. I started saving, putting away a couple of $100 a month into a certificate of deposit that the bank advisor said was very safe. Today I have almost $50,000 saved up. Every single cent earned with honest work and a lot of sacrifices. And during all that time, I took care of my son. I lent him money when he wanted to take a business certification. $1,000 that he promised to pay back and never did. I paid for half of his root canal when his insurance did not cover it all. $400. I gave him $2,000 as a gift when he rent out his first apartment, just so he could buy furniture. Mike was always close to me. He used to call me every day. "Hey, Dad, how was your day?" We would talk about everything, about his work, the girls he was meeting, his plans for the future. When Sarah died, he was the one who held my hand at the funeral and said, "Dad, I will never abandon you." I believed him. I kept that promise in my heart as if it were gold. But 3 years ago, he met Jess at a corporate event where he worked. She was from the marketing department. Long, straight hair, nails always perfectly done. That attitude of someone who grew up with money and never had to prove anything to anyone. She was pretty, I will not deny it, but there was something in her eyes that made me uncomfortable. 6 months after they started dating, Mike called me. "Dad, I am getting married." "Married, son? You barely know each other." "When you know, Dad, and I know she is the woman of my life." The wedding was small, only close family. I insisted on paying for her wedding dress. $3,000 at a fancy boutique that Jess had picked out. "Thank you, father-in-law," she said with that smile that never quite reached her eyes. And from then on, everything changed. The daily calls turned into weekly ones. Then every 2 weeks, I would call and he would answer in a rush. "Dad, I'm busy. Let's talk later." The later sometimes took a week. On Christmas of 2023, for the first time in 38 years, my son did not spend Christmas Eve with me. "Dad, Jess's family insists that we be there. You understand, right?" "No, I spent Christmas alone. I bought a small turkey. I made stuffing, mashed potatoes, and that apple salad that Mike always loved. I set everything on the table and ate looking at the empty chair across from me. For my 67th birthday, they arrived 2 hours late. I had prepared a pot roast, Mike's favorite dish since he was a kid. When they finally rang the doorbell, the food was cold. "Sorry, Dad. Time just got away from us," he said without looking me in the eyes. They stayed for 40 minutes. Jess spent the whole time on her phone. They barely even touched the food. And the loans? Oh, the loans never stopped. "Dad, can you lend me $1,000? It is just until my bonus comes in. Dad, I need $1,500 to change the tires on the car. I will pay you back next month." "Dad, Jess needs to get some dental work done. Can you lend us $2,000? It is urgent." I always lent the money because he was my son, my only son. And a father never denies anything to his son, right? But the money never came back. And now, sitting in my kitchen, holding that photo of Sarah, I understood. I had been blind. I had confused a father's love with being a doormat. I had given so much, that my son had forgotten to give me the bare minimum: respect. I put the photo back in the box. I wiped away the tears that insisted on falling. Thursday was approaching, and with it, the truth would arrive as well. Jessica Christine Davis. That was her full name. I memorized it because I saw it printed on the wedding invitation on that expensive paper with gold lettering. Back then, I thought it was beautiful. Today, just remembering that name made my stomach turn. The first time I met her was a Sunday in March, 3 years ago. Mike called me, all excited. Dad, I want to introduce you to someone very special. They arrived holding hands. She was wearing a white dress with black polka dots, high-heeled sandals, expensive sunglasses, hair straight down her back, tanned skin, flawless red nails. She was pretty, yes, but there was a coldness in her smile that made me shake her hand with a certain mistrust. Nice to meet you, Mr. Henderson. Mike talks so much about you. Nice to meet you, miss. Come in, make yourselves comfortable. I had prepared a good meal, a roasted chicken with herbs, baby potatoes, roasted zucchini with corn. For dessert, a cheesecake that had taken me all morning to make. I had put the nice tablecloth on the table. The plates I only used for special occasions. During the meal, Jess looked around the living room with the gaze of someone evaluating a property. She noticed the wooden bookshelf where I kept the picture frames, the beige armchair I had owned for 15 years, the old tube television that still worked perfectly. What a cozy house, father-in-law. Cozy. The word sounded like a disguised insult. The chicken is excellent, Dad, Mike said, devouring his plate. I do not eat much poultry. It gives me heartburn, she commented, pushing the food around her plate without really eating. But it is interesting. Interesting. Another word that hurt. After the meal, while I was washing the dishes, I heard her commenting to Mike in the living room. Babe, doesn't your dad ever think about upgrading that TV? Nobody uses tube TVs anymore. He likes old things, my dad. Leave him be. But it is so outdated. Outdated. I heard that word loud and clear. The following weeks were a succession of little jabs, always wrapped in fake smiles. When I wore a shirt I liked, Father-in-law, isn't that pattern a little 90s? When I proudly showed off the dishes I had cooked, oh, so many calories. I cannot. I am on a diet. She was 29 years old, worked in marketing for a cosmetics company. She made good money. At least that is what Mike always said. Her parents lived in a gated community in the suburbs. Money was not an issue in that family. But apparently, manners were. The wedding was 6 months later. Too fast for my taste. But Mike was enchanted, blinded by passion. I swallowed my concerns, and I paid for her dress. $3,000. $3,000 for a dress she would wear exactly once. Thank you, father-in-law. You should not have bothered. But the way she said it gave me the impression that it was an obligation. You know? Like it was the least I could do. After the wedding, my son's transformation was terrifying. The Mike who used to call me every day disappeared. In his place appeared a man who was always busy. Always rushing, always with excuses ready. Dad, I cannot talk right now. I'm in a meeting. Dad, we have plans. We cannot come over today. Dad, you have to understand that I have my own life now. My own life now. As if I had never been a part of his life before. I started hearing things. My neighbor, Mrs. Higgins, who has lived here for 20 years and knows everything, told me she had heard Jess talking on the phone in front of our building. Babe, when we go see your dad, we are staying for half an hour max. I cannot stand being in that old apartment. It gives me anxiety. Old apartment. This apartment that I had bought with my own sweat, that I had furnished little by little with care, picking out every single detail. For my 67th birthday, when they arrived late, I heard, even though I did not want to, their argument in the hallway before they rang the bell. Mike, we really have to go. I am tired. I am... Jess, it is my dad's birthday. I cannot just not show up. Fine. But we are not staying long. Afterwards, we are going to Ryan's barbecue. That one is actually going to be fun. They walked in with fake smiles. I hugged my son, feeling like I was hugging a stranger. And the requests for money? Oh, those never stopped. But now they always came with Jess directing in the background. When Mike asked me for $2,000 for Jess's dental work, I asked, Son, does she not have insurance from her company? Yes, Dad, but it does not cover the implant, and she needs it, otherwise she will have chewing problems. I transferred the money. 2 weeks later, I saw on her Instagram, where I had created an account just to follow her, a picture on a beach in Florida. Well-deserved vacation, the caption read. Vacations paid for with my $2,000 apparently. Then there was the day she compared fathers right in front of me. It was for Father's Day last year. I had cooked a special meal, trying to gather what was left of our family. Mike came with her, obviously. You know, father-in-law, my dad is more modern. He plays golf, goes to the spa, travels a lot. Do you never think about doing something like that? Meeting new people? I meet people in my church group, young lady. Oh, the church, she made a face. I'm talking about more stimulating things. Stimulating? As if my life were empty, uninteresting, worthless. Mike did not say anything. He just kept eating, looking down, avoiding my eyes. That was when I started to realize the truth. My son had not just gotten married. He had surrendered. He had let this woman reprogram every part of him, slowly erasing everything I had built in him. The boy who hugged me crying when he had nightmares was gone. The young man who said, "I love you, Dad," at the end of every call was gone. In his place was this man, in a tie, controlled by his wife, looking at me like I was a problem to be solved. And when he walked into my kitchen 3 weeks ago with that absurd proposal to control my money, I finally understood. It was not his idea. It never was. It was Jess using my son as a puppet to take over what was mine. She wanted my money. She wanted my storefronts. She wanted to turn me into a dependent old man, controlled, useful only for what they needed. Sitting there in my living room 3 days before that fateful Thursday, I made a decision. I grabbed the phone and called a number I had saved for months. "Hello, Ms. Taylor. This is Robert Henderson. You said if I ever needed legal help, I just had to call. Well, I need it." And as I explained the situation to the lawyer, I felt something grow inside me. It was not anger. It was not sadness. It was something colder, more calculated. It was justice waiting for the right moment to manifest itself. Tuesday, 2 days before the dinner. I was in the kitchen making a grocery list when my cell phone rang. It was Mike. "Dad, just to confirm, Thursday at 8, Jess and I are coming over. Come on over, son. I am going to make that pork roast you love." Silence on the other end. Then he said, with a tone that wanted to sound casual but sounded anxious, "Dad, have you thought about what we talked about?" "I have thought a lot, Mike. A whole lot. And we will talk about it on Thursday, calmly. Bring the papers you mentioned." I heard him breathe a sigh of relief. "I knew you would understand, Dad. We just want what is best for you." I hung up and looked at my own hand. It was shaking. Not from fear or adrenaline, from something I had not felt in a long time. Pure determination. Wednesday morning I went to the notary downtown. Ms. Taylor was waiting for me with a folder of documents under her arm. She was 45 years old, short grayish hair, red-rimmed glasses, and a direct way of speaking that I loved. "Robert, are you sure about this? Because once it is done, there is no going back. The donation with the irrevocability clause is permanent." "I know, Ms. Taylor. It is exactly what I want." I signed the papers right there. 60% of all my assets, the 2 commercial storefronts and $35,000 from my savings, donated to the St. Mary's retirement home. That place where I had volunteered for 5 years, bringing food every Saturday, talking with the abandoned elderly, helping to organize their medications. The director, Mrs. Miller, a 72-year-old lady with eyes always wet with gratitude, cried when she found out. "Robert, this will allow us to remodel our entire dining hall, buy new wheelchairs. My God, this is going to change the lives of 38 people here." "That is what money is for, Mrs. Miller, to make a difference in the lives of those who deserve it." The remaining 40% I divided among my 3 cousins, Maggie, Ben, and Christine. Simple, hard-working people who always visited me, who called to ask how I was doing, who took me out to eat on Sundays with no other interest than keeping me company. When I left the notary, I stopped in front of a framing shop. I went in and bought a large turquoise frame, that vibrant, cheerful color, impossible to ignore. "Would you like me to gift wrap it for you?" the saleswoman asked. "No, thank you. It is for me." At home, I placed a certified copy of the donation document inside the frame. You could see it clearly through the glass. The letters were small but legible. I placed it on the living room cabinet, turned toward the wall. No one would see it until the right moment. Thursday arrived slowly, as if the universe wanted to give me time to feel every second. I woke up at 6 in the morning. I took a long shower, put on the lavender cologne that Christine had given me. I picked out simple but elegant clothes. Black slacks, a crisp white button-down shirt, that watch Sarah had given me for our 10th wedding anniversary. I went to the market, bought a 6-pound pork roast, a bit expensive, $40, but it was the best they had. I bought bacon, garlic, onions, potatoes, carrots. I took white wine to season the meat, a bottle of good red wine to go with it, $30. I also bought the ingredients to make creamed roasted peppers, and for dessert, I decided to make a caramel custard, Mike's favorite since he was a boy. I returned home carrying the heavy bags. The neighbor, Mrs. Higgins, saw me in the hallway. "Robert, let me help you with that." "Thank you, Mrs. Higgins." She helped me bring the groceries up. When we put everything in the kitchen, she looked at the amount of food and asked, "Are you expecting company?" "My son is coming to dinner tonight." "Oh, Mike, that is wonderful. It has been a while since he came over, hasn't it?" "Yes, it has been a while." She must have noticed something in my voice because she touched my arm affectionately. "Robert, if you need anything, whatever it is, I am right here." "I know, dear friend. Thank you." I spent the whole afternoon cooking. I seasoned the pork roast carefully. Crushed garlic, coarse salt, black pepper, fresh rosemary. I poked holes in the meat and stuffed in bits of bacon. I bathed it in white wine. I put it to cook on low heat. The smell invaded the apartment. That smell of food made with time, dedication, and all my love. Because even though my son had disappointed me, I could not simply erase 38 years of a father's love. I made the cream peppers with care. I sliced the roasted peppers into strips. I added heavy cream, corn, and shredded cheddar cheese. The caramel custard came out perfectly, shiny, trembling delicately when I unmolded it. At 7 in the evening, the table was set. A light tablecloth, deep plates, with neatly arranged silverware. I even put a candle in the center, still unlit. But there, waiting, 7:30. I took one last look around the apartment. Everything clean, tidy, smelling nice. I looked at the turquoise frame on the cabinet, still turned toward the wall. My heart was beating fast. 7:50. I touched up my shave. I took 3 deep breaths. 8 o'clock on the dot. The doorbell rang. I walked to the door slowly. Every step was a decision, every second a confirmation of what I was about to do. I opened the door. Mike was there, tie loosened, leather briefcase in his hand. Next to him, Jess, in a tight red dress, high heels, hair pulled back in a perfect bun, flawless makeup, fake smile. "Hi, Dad," Mike said, walking in without hugging me. "Good evening, father-in-law," Jess sang out, walking past me as if she owned the place. I closed the door behind them. The smell of the pork roast filled the hallway. Mike took a deep breath. "Wow, Dad, I'm starving." "The food is ready. Let's go to the living room." They walked ahead of me. I followed behind, observing. Mike looking around like someone evaluating a property. Jess with that expression of superiority that was already so familiar to me. They walked into the living room, and that was when I saw it. That was when it finally happened. Jess stopped abruptly, her eyes wide as saucers, her hand flying to her mouth. Mike bumped into her, looked in the same direction, and then came the scream. That scream I will never, never forget. Jess's scream was high-pitched, hysterical. She stumbled backward, crashing into Mike, who in turn tripped over the corner of the armchair and had to grab the back of it to keep from falling. "What? What is this?" she screamed, pointing at the cabinet. Mike turned pale. Not that normal pale of surprise. That pale of someone who just saw the floor open up beneath their feet. I just stood there with my arms crossed, leaning against the doorframe, calm, completely calm. "It is a picture frame, Jess," Have you never seen one? Do not treat me like I am stupid. What does it say right there? And what is that paper? Mike approached the cabinet with trembling steps. He leaned over the turquoise frame. I watched his expression change by the second. Confusion, shock, disbelief, panic. Dad, this cannot be true. It is true, son. Very true. He picked up the frame with shaking hands. He read out loud, stuttering, notarized deed of donation. 60% of the estate. St. Mary's Retirement Home. Irrevocability clause. Jess snatched the frame from his hands. Her eyes scanned the document like desperate rats looking for an exit. When she finished reading, the frame almost slipped from her fingers. You donated our money to a nursing home. It was not your money, Jess. It never was. It was mine. Ours, she screamed, her face turning red. You are his father. Everything that is yours must automatically go to your son. Obligatorily, I took a step forward. Tell me, dear daughter-in-law, where is it written that a father has the obligation to support a 38-year-old adult son who works, makes good money, and on top of that, wants to control his own father's life? Mike was shaking. He brought his hand to his head, messing up his gelled hair. Dad, you could not have done this. You cannot. That money, we need that money. You need it for what, Mike? For the baby. Silence. A silence so heavy you could hear the wall clock ticking. Yes, she answered, her voice fading. For the baby. That is funny. I took another step closer, because chatting with Ms. Taylor, my lawyer, I found out something interesting. She has a niece who works in the very same company as you two, in human resources, and according to that niece, Jess did request a leave of absence. Yes, but it was not maternity leave. Jess went pale. It was a leave to get cosmetic surgery? A rhinoplasty and liposuction scheduled for February of next year. $6,000. Does that not matter? Jess exploded. It mattered to me the moment you used a fake pregnancy to try to take my money? Mike sat down on the armchair. He just collapsed there like a rag doll. Jess, you said you were pregnant. I was going to get pregnant, she defended herself hysterically. After we got the money, I was going to get off the pill, and we were going to try. What is the problem? The problem, I said, my voice coming out harder than I expected, is that you lied, you cheated, you manipulated, you thought I was too old, too stupid, too naive to realize. Mike raised his eyes to look at me. There were tears in them. Dad, can I explain? Can you? Then explain. Explain why you walked into my kitchen and said you were going to control my money. Explain why you wanted to give me an allowance of $500 when I bring in $4,500. Explain where the other $4,000 were going to go, Mike. He did not answer. He just lowered his head. Jess, however, did not have the same restraint. You know what? You are selfish. A selfish old man who would rather give money to strangers instead of helping his own son. Strangers? I laughed. I actually laughed. A dry, humorless laugh. Those elderly folks at St. Mary's are more my family than you have ever been. They hug me when I arrive. They ask how I'm doing. They remember my birthday, something you failed to do these last 2 years. We work. We have a life, she shot back. And I do not? Do I not have a life? Do I not deserve respect? That was when I saw it. I saw in her eyes that exact moment when the mask completely fell off. No more pretending, no more fake kindness. You should be grateful to have a son who worries about you. You should be happy that we want to manage your money before you do anything stupid. Stupid? Like donating to St. Mary's? Yes, it is throwing money in the trash. I looked at my son. He was still sitting there, head down, hands shaking. Mike, do you agree with her? He did not answer. Mike, I am asking you a question. Do you think I threw the money in the trash? Slowly, very slowly, he lifted his head. His eyes met mine, and in that look, I saw something that broke my heart. I saw that I had lost my son a long time ago. Maybe 3 years ago, maybe earlier. Maybe at the exact moment he decided that I was a problem to manage and not a father to love. Dad, you do not understand. We have projects. We have to buy a bigger apartment, get a new car. Jess wants to get her master's degree. All of that costs money. And I am the cow you milk to finance your dreams. Is that not right? It is exactly right, Mike. For the first time, my voice rose. For the first time in 3 weeks, I let the anger out. You wanted to turn me into a dependent old man, controlled, with no autonomy. You wanted to give me the crumbs of what is mine, while you used the rest to live your life. Jess threw the frame onto the armchair forcefully. You know what? We are going to contest this donation. We are going to prove that you were senile when you signed it, that you were manipulated. Good luck. I crossed my arms. Ms. Taylor foresaw that. That is why I had a complete neurological exam on Monday. Everything is documented. I am in full possession of my mental faculties. The donation is irrevocable and legal. You will not be able to annul it. The silence that fell was different. It was the silence of defeat. Jess looked at Mike. Do something. What do you want me to do? Silence. A silence so deep I could hear my own breathing tremble. I walked to the kitchen. The pork roast was still in the pan, smoking, filling the whole apartment with that smell that should bring joy, but only brought a crushing sadness. The creamed peppers golden in the casserole dish, the caramel custard waiting in the fridge. A table set for 3 people who would never sit there. I sat in the chair. I looked at all that food and I started to cry again. But this time was different. It was not just sadness, it was also relief. That strange feeling of someone who has just done the hardest thing in their life and does not know if it was the right decision. The cell phone rang. I looked at the screen. Mrs. Higgins, is Robert okay? I heard screaming. I'm fine, Mrs. Higgins, just sorting out some family business. Do you need company? No, dear friend. I need to be alone right now. I hung up and just sat there looking at the food that no one was going to eat. I thought about calling Mrs. Higgins, sharing all of this with her, but my body would not respond. I could only sit there feeling the weight of every decision I had made. Had I gone too far? Was there another solution? But then I remembered the audio recordings, the conversations, the coldness with which they planned my future as if I were an object, not a person. I had done the right thing. The night passed slowly. I could not sleep. I tossed and turned in my bed, staring at the ceiling, going over every word, every expression on Mike's face. That moment when he realized he had lost everything, not the money. Me. He had lost me. Friday dawned gray. A light rain was falling, that annoying drizzle that never stops. I was drinking a coffee, just 1 cup, with no appetite for anything else, when my cell phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Robert, is this Mrs. Davis speaking, Jess's mother? My blood ran cold. I had never really spoken to my son's mother-in-law. I had only seen her from a distance at the wedding. Good afternoon, Mrs. Davis. There is nothing good about it. Her voice was sharp, loaded with anger. Do you know what state my daughter arrived home in last night? I can imagine. Are you not ashamed to do this to your own son, to give everything to strangers? Take a deep breath, Mrs. Davis. With all due respect, this is none of your business. It is my business when you destroy my daughter's marriage. Jess is devastated. She spent the whole night crying. Maybe she should have thought about that before using lies to try and rob me. Rob you? You are crazy. They just wanted to help you. Help me by giving me an allowance of $500 out of my own money. That is help, right? Silence on the other end. We are going to sue you for defamation, for breach of trust, for everything possible. Good luck. I have everything recorded. I have proof. I have a lawyer, and I have a medical certificate that proves I am in full possession of my mental faculties. Sue me if you want. You are going to lose. You are a bitter and selfish man, and your daughter is a manipulative gold digger. Now, if you will excuse me, I have more important things to do. I hung up on her. My hands were shaking, but it was out of anger, not fear. The phone rang again. Mike. I let it ring and ring and ring. Then came a message. Dad, please answer. We have to talk. I ignored it. Another message. Dad, I know you are angry, but this is not going to solve anything. Another one. I'm not going to give up. Another. Jess moved out of the house. She took her things and left. Dad, everything is falling apart. I left the cell phone on the table. I was not going to answer. Not now. Maybe never. Saturday arrived, and I did what I always did. I went to the St. Mary's retirement home. Mrs. Miller greeted me with that tight hug she always gives. Robert, my dear, how are you? Surviving, Mrs. Miller. We heard about your son. The mix-up. News travels fast, doesn't it? It travels. But I want you to know that what you did here changed the lives of so many people. Come, let me show you. She took me to the dining hall. It was remodeled. Walls painted a cheerful light yellow. New tables, comfortable chairs, a modern industrial stove, where before there were only old stoves that kept breaking down. All of this was done with the donation, Robert. And look, she took me to the courtyard. They had built a covered space with benches. There were plants, flowers, a place for those who wanted to sit in the sun without getting burned. Mr. Benson, who is 83 years old, waved at me. Robert, come here, my boy. I sat next to him. He held my hand with his hands full of age spots. I found out what you did. I found out that you gave up everything for us here. It was not everything, Mr. Benson. It was a part, but it was the part that mattered. No, because you chose people who respect you instead of people who used you. He squeezed my hand. You are a very brave man. And there, sitting next to this man who had been abandoned by his 3 children 5 years ago, who never received visits, who only had the people at the home as family. I understood. I had made the right decision. Because love is not a matter of obligation. It is not a matter of blood. It is a matter of choice. And I had chosen to give my love, my money, my life to those who truly valued it. I returned home at dusk. I had 47 missed calls from Mike, 83 messages. I read a few. Dad, Jess asked for a divorce. Dad, I am alone. Dad, you were right about her. Dad, please answer me. But I did not answer because forgiveness is not something that is given just because it is asked for. It is something that is built with time, with true change, with actions. Sunday I went to church, the 10 o'clock service. I sat in my usual spot, 3rd pew on the left. My cousin Christine sat next to me. Robert, I heard about everything. Are you okay? I'm okay, Christine. It hurt, but I am okay. You were very strong, cousin. Or very cowardly, I still do not know. Strong. Definitely strong. She held my hand. And you are not alone. You never have been. The service began. The pastor spoke about forgiveness, about family, about difficult decisions, and every word seemed directed at me. When I left the church, there was someone waiting at the door. Mike. He looked different. Unshaven beard, deep dark circles under his eyes, wrinkled clothes. He looked like he had not slept in days. Dad. I stopped in front of him. I did not say anything. I just wanted to say that you were right about everything. About Jess, about me, about who I had become. His voice trembled. And I am not asking for your forgiveness. Because I know I do not deserve it. I am just asking for a chance to prove that I can change. I looked at him, my destroyed son, and for the first time in days I felt something beyond anger. I felt pity. Mike, I said softly, change is not proven with words, it is proven with time. I know. Then give me time, give me space, and if you really want to fix this, start by living your life without expecting anything from me. Understood. He nodded, tears streaming down his face. I walked past him and left. But something in me had changed. It was not forgiveness yet. No. It was hope. 2 weeks passed. 2 weeks of heavy silence, of sleepless nights, of looking at my cell phone and seeing Mike's messages slowly decrease. From 40 a day to 20. From 20 to 10. until they stopped. I thought I would feel relieved when the messages ceased, but no, I felt a strange emptiness. That kind of emptiness you feel when you lose something that, even though it hurt, was still part of your routine. It was Tuesday, almost 10 at night, when the doorbell rang, insistent, 3 quick rings in a row. I looked through the peephole. Mike, but this time he was not alone. Jess was with him. My heart raced. I opened the door just a crack, keeping the security chain latched. "What do you want?" "Dad, please." Mike's voice was desperate. "We have to talk for real this time." "There is nothing to talk about." "Oh, yes, there is," Jess screamed, and I saw that she looked different. Messy hair, smudged makeup, red eyes. "You destroyed my life. You destroyed my marriage, and you're going to listen to me." "Robert, please." It was Mike's pleading voice. 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. Against all my instincts, I undid the chain and opened the door. They walked in. Jess pushed past me with a look of pure hatred. Mike followed behind, his head down. In the living room, she did not sit down. She just stood there, glaring at me as if she could burn me alive with her eyes alone. "Do you know that because of this whole charade I lost my job?" "How?" The story leaked. Someone in the family told someone, who told someone else, and it reached human resources at the company. They fired me for conduct incompatible with the company's core values. I worked for 5 years at that company. "It was not my dad who fired you, Jess," Mike muttered. "Yes, it was. It was him who created this whole situation. It was him who humiliated us, who spread rumors that we were trying to rob him." "I did not spread anything," I said calmly. "The truth has its own legs." "The truth?" Jess took a threatening step toward me. "You want to talk about the truth? Then let's talk. Let's talk about how you always looked down on me from day one. You judged me. You thought I was a gold digger. Did it never occur to you that I love your son?" "Love?" I laughed, a dry laugh. "You said you were leaving the moment you found out you would not get an inheritance. That is love?" I was angry. People say things when they are angry. "And do they plan their father-in-law's death when they are calm? Because I have you on tape, Jess. Recorded talking about your vacation to Europe after my death." Her face turned bright red. That was a joke. We were speaking hypothetically." "Hypothetically?" I looked at my son. "Mike, do you really believe that?" He did not answer. He stared at the floor, hands in his pockets, defeated. Jess saw she was losing and changed tactics. Suddenly came the tears. "Look, Mr. Henderson, maybe I exaggerated. Maybe I said things I should not have. But you have to understand. I come from a wealthy family. I'm used to a certain standard of living. And when Mike told me that you had savings, properties, I thought we could count on that." "Count on me or on my money?" "Both. Is it so wrong to want financial security?" "No, but it is wrong to want my financial security." She wiped her fake tears. "We could have come to an arrangement. You could have helped us without having to give it all away to strangers." "Those people are not strangers." "Yes, they are. You do not even know most of them. I know them better than I know you." The words came out sharp. "I know every single one of their names. I know their stories. I know how many kids they had, and how many abandoned them. Mr. Benson has 3 children. None of them visit him. Mrs. Evans has 5. Only one calls once a year on Christmas. Mr. Wallace has 2. Both disappeared after he had his stroke and could no longer work." Jess stayed quiet. "Those are the strangers I chose to help. People who were thrown away by their own family, just like you and my son wanted to do to me." "We were never going to throw you away." "No? Then tell me, Jess, what was the plan after you put my money into your account? Was I going to keep living here, or were you going to help me move to a nursing home for my own good?" Her silence was more eloquent than any answer. I looked at Mike. "My son, you answer. What was the real plan?" He lifted his head slowly. His eyes met mine, and in that moment I saw the truth. We had discussed that you could live in a place with more structure, with nurses, caregivers. A nursing home. It was not a nursing home, Dad. It was an assisted living facility, luxurious, with everything you would need, except for the freedom, except for the dignity, except for my life. Dad, we just wanted what was best for you. Lie? The word came out like a shout. I had never yelled at my son like that. You wanted my money. You wanted to get me out of your way to live your life without a heavy conscience. You wanted to shove me in a corner somewhere and pretend you were doing charity. Mike took a step back as if he had been slapped. And you know what hurts me the most? It is not the money. It is not the properties. It is that you, my son, the boy I raised, the one I took care of, the one I stayed awake for when he had a fever, the one I worked double shifts for to give him an education, you looked at me and saw a thing, an obstacle between you and what you wanted. That is not true. Yes, it is true. Because if you saw me as a father, as a person, you never would have agreed to that plan. You never would have walked into my kitchen to say you were going to control my life. Jess, seeing that the situation was slipping out of her hands, tried one last card. You know what? You deserve each other, a stubborn old man, and a failure of a son. I am out of here. She turned to leave. Jess, wait. Mike went toward her. No, I am done, Mike. I am done with you. I am done with this situation. I am done with everything. You decide, either me or him. And there was the final ultimatum. Mike stopped in the middle of the living room, looked at Jess, looked at me, and for the first time I saw my son think for himself. Jess, I cannot choose between you two. Then you already chose. She grabbed her purse. Good luck with your dad and your miserable life. I deserve something better. And she left, slamming the door. Mike just stood there, trembling. Then slowly, very slowly, he collapsed. He fell to his knees in the middle of the living room and started to cry. It was not the cry of an adult trying to hold it together. It was the cry of a child, deep, painful, real. I lost everything, Dad. I lost her. I lost you. I lost respect for myself. What do I do now? And there, seeing him destroyed on my living room floor, I felt something break inside me too. It was not forgiveness yet, but it was the beginning of something. I stood there, looking at my son on his knees in the middle of the room. Every fiber of my being screamed for me to get down there, to hug him, to tell him that everything would be okay, but I could not. Not yet. Get up, Mike, he continued sobbing. Mike, get up. Slowly, very slowly, he stood up. His face was red, swollen, wet with tears. He looked like he had aged 10 years in these 2 weeks. Son, listen to what I am going to tell you right now, and listen closely. I took a deep breath. You did not lose everything. You lost what was never really yours. Jess never loved you. And me, you never lost me because I have always been here. What you lost was the illusion, the fantasy that you could have everything without deserving anything. Dad, I know. No, you do not know. Not yet, but you are going to learn. I went to the door and opened it. Now go home. Go to sleep. Go reflect on your life. And when you have truly understood what you did, when you have truly changed, then you come back. But do not come back expecting instant forgiveness. Come back as a man, not as a child. He looked at me for a long few seconds, then nodded and walked out. I closed the door and leaned against it. My legs were shaking so much I had to grab the door frame. Had I done the right thing, or had I been too cruel? I did not know, but I could not turn back now. The following days were strange. The phone would ring. Sometimes it was Mike. Other times, unknown numbers that I discovered later were lawyers hired by Jess's family. Empty threats of lawsuits that would never arrive. Ms. Taylor called me on Thursday of that week. Robert, they tried to file a motion claiming that you were under duress when you made the donation, and well, it did not succeed. The judge did not even accept it. Impeccable documentation, recent medical certificate, video of the signing at the notary showing you lucid and determined. It was dismissed immediately. Thank God. But there is something else. Jess tried to sue you for defamation. My heart raced. And dismissed. You have proof of everything she did and said. The audio recordings, the witnesses. Her lawyer withdrew when he saw the ammunition you had. So Is it over? For now, yes. But Robert, be careful. Desperate people do unpredictable things. I hung up with a heavy weight on my chest. I was not afraid of Jess, but I was afraid of what all this could still do to my son. Saturday arrived, and I went to the St. Mary's home as usual. Mr. Benson was waiting for me with a toothless smile. Robert, come see what we did. He took me to the garden. They had planted rose bushes, red, yellow, white, a rainbow of colors, still small, but full of promises. We decided to make a memorial garden. For every person who has helped the home, we plant a rose bush. Yours will be that one, the red one in the center. I looked at that fragile little plant and started to cry. Robert, it is okay. I'm fine, Mr. Benson. It is just that it has been a long time since anyone planted something in my honor. He held my hand. We are going to take care of it as if it were you, with care, with respect, because that is what you deserve. I returned home with a lighter heart, but when I arrived at the building, the doorman called me over. Mr. Henderson, your son stopped by today. He left this. It was a thick manila envelope. I opened it right there. Inside was money. $100 bills, 50s I counted. $1,500 and a handwritten note. Dad, this is the money for the certification you lent me 6 years ago. With inflation, it should be more, but it is what I have right now. I am going to pay the rest, little by little. I am not doing this expecting your forgiveness. I am doing it because it is the right thing to do. Mike. I sat on the lobby steps and read the note 3 times. It was a start, small, but it was a start. Weeks passed. Mike no longer called. He no longer sent messages. But every 2 weeks, the doorman would hand me an envelope. Always with money, always with a short note. Dad, another $400 from the dentist bill. Dad, $1,000, part of the $2,000 for the apartment. Dad, $400. I know it is small, but it is what is left after expenses this month. He was working. He was paying his debts. He was acting for the first time in years like a responsible man. But what touched me the most was the envelope that arrived 3 months after that fateful dinner. There was no money inside, just a photo. It was a selfie of Mike, but he looked different. Neat beard, haircut, timid smile, and behind him on a yellow wall that I recognized immediately, the St. Mary's retirement home. On the back of the photo, written in that handwriting I had known since he was a kid, Dad, I started volunteering here every Tuesday and Thursday after work. I help serve dinner. I talk to the people. I read the newspaper to Mr. Benson because his eyes get tired. I am not doing this so you can see it. I am doing it because I finally understood. Family is a matter of presence, not blood. And these people here taught me more about love in 2 months than I learned in 38 years. Thank you for showing me the way, even though it hurt. With love, your son. I sat on the bed and cried. I cried so much that Mrs. Higgins knocked on the wall, asking if I was okay. I'm fine, Mrs. Higgins. I'm very well. Because for the first time since this had all started, I felt that I had made the right decision. It had not been easy. It had hurt as if a piece of my soul had been ripped out, but it had been necessary. Sunday I went to church. Christine sat next to me as always. Cousin, you look different today. Do I? Yes, you look lighter. I think I am learning to let go, Christine. To let go, to trust that things will work out in their own time. That is wisdom, cousin, the wisdom that only the years bring. The service began. The pastor spoke about the prodigal son, about the father who waited, about forgiveness that is not a weakness, but the greatest strength there is. And when I left the church, there he was, Mike, but not alone. By his side, Mr. Benson in his wheelchair, Mrs. Evans with her walker, 3 more seniors from the home. Dad, he said, his voice trembling, I brought my family to meet you. I looked at him, the man he was becoming, and I smiled. Hello, son, it is good to see you. It was not a hug, it was not a kiss, it was not complete forgiveness, but it was a step, and sometimes a step is all we need to start a new path. Mr. Benson held out his hand. Robert, your son is a good boy. He learns fast. He was always good, Mr. Benson. He just got lost along the way. But now he found his way back, Mrs. Evans added, and you were the lighthouse that guided him. We stayed there in front of the church talking. Mike hung back a little, respectful, letting me have my moment with these people I had chosen to love. And when we finally said goodbye, and everyone went their own way, Mike approached. Dad, I know there is still a long way to go. I know we cannot fix everything at once, but I am trying to be the son you deserve. I put my hand on his cheek. A brief contact, a contact that said, I know, I see it. Keep going. We will go at our own pace, son. No rush, no pressure, just with honesty, okay? Okay. And for the first time in months, I felt true hope. Today, as I prepare my morning coffee on a sunny Thursday in December, I look out the window and see a completely different world than the one I saw before. Not because the world has changed, but because I have changed. The cell phone rings. It is Mike. Good morning, Dad. Did you sleep well? I slept well, son. And you? Good, too. Hey, the folks at the home and I are organizing a Christmas dinner. We wanted to know if you would like to make your famous baked ham. I smiled. Of course I want to, but only if you make the spice and cider. Deal. I love you, Dad. I love you too, son. I hang up and stay staring at the phone. A year ago, these words seemed impossible. Today they are part of the routine, a rebuilt routine, brick by brick, conversation by conversation, gesture by gesture. Mike kept all his promises. He paid back every cent he owed. The $1,000 for the certification, the $2,000 for the dentist, the $2,000 for the apartment, everything, down to the last cent. He worked hard. He was promoted to regional director for the entire Midwest. He makes $10,000 a month now, double what he used to make. But he still lives in that same small 2-bedroom apartment in the suburbs. Do you not want to move to something better, son? Now you can. Dad, no rush. First, I want to finish saving up, the right way, without expecting anything that is not mine. He goes to the St. Mary's home 4 times a week. He became an essential part of the place. The seniors do not call him Mike. They call him Mikey, with that affection that only older people know how to give. He takes them to the doctor. He handles their Medicare paperwork. He sits with them to watch soap operas. He reads to them when their eyesight is no longer enough. Mr. Benson, who is now 84 years old, told me last week while we were playing dominoes, Robert, your son is pure gold. I wish my children were half as attentive. He was lost for a while, Mr. Benson, but he found his way back. Thanks to you. You taught him the hardest but most important lesson. Which one? That love without respect is not love. It is dependence. Those words stuck with me. And what happened to Jess? Well, life has a funny way of dealing out poetic justice. I found out through Mrs. Higgins, who found out through her sister-in-law, who found out through the neighbor. In that way that news travels in a small town, that her marriage to the rich businessman lasted exactly 7 months. He discovered she had huge credit card debts, over $20,000 that she had hidden before the wedding. And not only that, he also discovered she tried to open a business in his name without authorization. The divorce was fast and brutal. She got nothing. She moved back in with her parents. She lost her new job, and from what I was told, she now works as a sales clerk at a clothing store in the local mall, making minimum wage. I am not going to lie. When I found out, I felt a twinge of satisfaction, but it passed quickly because I realized that the best revenge was not her losing money. It was that I had gained peace. 3 months ago, Mike met someone. Her name is Patricia. She is an elementary school teacher, 35 years old, divorced with no kids. He met her exactly at the St. Mary's home. She also volunteers there, teaching the seniors to read and write, the ones who never had the chance to study. He introduced me to her 2 weeks ago. She came over for Sunday dinner. Nice to meet you, Mr. Henderson. Mike talks a lot about you. The pleasure is mine, Patricia. Please sit down. I made a rich beef stew, the kind that simmers for hours, freshly baked rolls, roasted potatoes, and a crisp garden salad. For dessert, a homemade apple pie with a touch of cinnamon. Patricia ate enthusiastically. She did not push the food around on her plate. She did not make faces. She did not say she was on a diet. She ate. She talked. She laughed. She asked me about my life, about Sarah, about my years as an accountant. She listened. She really listened. When they left, Mike stayed at the door for a moment. What do you think, Dad? She seems like a good woman, son. Just good? She seems like a woman who sees you, not your wallet. That is more than good. That is what you need. He smiled. That calm smile of someone who is finally at peace. Thank you, Dad. The St. Mary's home now houses 60 seniors. The donation I made inspired other people. A businessman from the city donated money for a new industrial kitchen. A doctor donates her time twice a week for free medical checkups. An architect remodeled the entire recreation area without charging a single cent. And in the garden, that red rose bush they planted in my honor now has flowers. Large, red, beautiful. Mr. Benson waters it every morning. It is like you, Robert. It started out small, fought against the weather, against the pests. But look at it now, strong, blooming, giving beauty to everyone. Last week, Mrs. Miller called me into her office. Robert, I have to tell you something. What happened? A journalist from the Daily Herald wants to do a feature on you, about what you did, about how your donation changed this place. I do not know if I want that, Mrs. Miller. I did not do it for recognition. I know, but your story can inspire others. It can show people that family is not just blood. That dignity does not have a price. I thought about it for days. Finally, I accepted. The article came out 2 weeks ago. Front page of the local section. The man who chose his dignity. The story of Robert Henderson. My cell phone did not stop ringing for 3 days. People I had known years ago, neighbors from the building, even my old boss from the textile company called. Robert, I read your story. I always knew you were a man of principle. But the call that